Sister Fawz from Saudi Arabia has another question, and she says that if a Muslim expat working in a Muslim country intends to return back to his non-Muslim country as they are there for career and result of uncertainty surrounding the work, affecting morale and causing distress. Though their house is in their original non-Muslim country where they intend returning to, but they are not prevented from following Islam, would it be okay Islamically to return along with the family and young children? If I understand the question correctly, it's about what most Muslims face when migrating or partly working outside their own countries. People in Europe, people in non-Muslim countries, their dream is to come to Muslim countries and work there, where they can hear the adhan 5 times a day, when they can have halal food, and where their women would be able to cover properly without being harassed or looked down at, and where they can practice Islam freely. Now, this is their dream. And to tell you the truth, this is a valid dream, because it is a nightmare to live in a non-Islamic environment. Even if it's so-called Muslim country, but it's un-Islamic environment, it's a nightmare. So those who come, they're faced with a situation, and that is eventually, inevitably, they have to go back to their country one day or the other. And they're asking, is this permissible to go back to our countries or not? Is it permissible to go back to our countries with choosing this, not being forced to do this, but we choose to go back to our countries or not? It depends from one case to the other. Sometimes it is advisable to stay if you are able to stay. And this is when the kids are going to Islamic schools and they're memorizing the Quran, and your wife is engaged in da'wah work, and your husband is also working and attending classes and gaining knowledge, learning Arabic. MashaAllah, this is a win-win situation. Everybody's happy. We go once a month, once a year in July or in August for vacation. We see our families and then go back to this Islamic country for work. So this is a win-win situation. The problem is that if you are not able to gain these things, and your children are growing up in an Islamic country, being segregated, alhamdulillah, girls from boys, they're wearing the hijab, the boys are attending salat, but at a certain period or stage of your life, they have to go back to their own countries. And then this is the cultural shock that they would be faced with. After being in schools that are segregated for 7, 8 years, now you're putting them in public schools and it's mixed. Now this is not acceptable. This is not possible, because it would cause them a great shock. Some of these kids were unable to cope, and some of them were so happy to be in such an environment, they were melted down in this melting pot, and they just went with the flow. So you don't have a one answer that fits all. It depends from one family to the other. But eventually, you have to remember that you have to immune your children, that one day we're going back to this polluted environment. And we have to be the cream of the society. We have to be the true Muslims, the practicing Muslims, those who give da'wah, those who do not join the non-Muslims in their activities and would always come on top in their moral conduct, in their behavior, in their excellence of work and study. So they have a lot of things going for them, and they have a lot of things going against them. Therefore, the way I see it, if a person has a problem in the country that he's living in, the Muslim country, due to uncertainty regarding work conditions or for any other reason, and he has to go back to his country, especially if he is not oppressed in his country. There are countries that you can practice Islam freely without any problem, maybe better than Muslim countries. For example, the UK, mashallah, people practice Islam in the UK beautifully, and life goes beautifully in harmony. There is no tension. Women wear the hijab. People go to pray in the masjid. Nobody's harassing them. They can eat halal food. There are halal outlets for them to eat. So everything is in their way. Again, it's not an Islamic environment, but it is one of the best in Europe. So if one has to go back to his country eventually, then I believe that there is nothing wrong in doing this choice a bit earlier if there are benefits for him, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best.